flooding the EU with cheap Ukrainian products like grain. About the only thing Ukraine is destroying right now is Europe.
All right, to Gaza now, where Israel has laid out its plan for the future of the enclave. Apparently, there's no role for the Palestinian Authority to govern Gaza, and the IDF is essentially going to be given carte blanche to continue doing what it wants. And all that is according to Benjamin Netanyahu's blueprint. However, his vision has not gone down well with his closest ally.
There are certain basic principles that we set out many months ago that we feel are very important when it comes to Gaza's future, including that it cannot be a platform for terrorism. There should be no Israeli reoccupation of Gaza. The size of Gaza's territory should not be reduced. It's been long-standing U.S. policy under Republican and Democratic administrations alike that new settlements are counterproductive to reaching an enduring peace. They're also inconsistent with international law. Our administration maintains a firm opposition to settlement expansion. And in our judgment, this only weakens, doesn't strengthen Israel's security.
So on Thursday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rolled out a plan for its control over Gaza. So the plan says that Israel will have a freedom of control over the entire Gaza Strip without any time limitations attached. And also, in addition to that, Israel will also establish the so-called South Closure that will probably be in cooperation with Egypt and the U.S. in order to make sure there is no infiltration of militias or arms into the Gaza Strip. And also, parallel to that, Israel will continue to act in the West Bank and will also stick to its policy of demilitarization of Gaza in order to weaken the element that could threaten Israel's security. And this plan also, it touches upon a hot issue, which is mainly the day after Hamas. Netanyahu says that the government of the Gaza Strip will not be given to any party that has any connection to terror. And he also vows that he will take a thorough overhaul in the Strip's educational and religious institution and help with moderate Arab countries to make sure that the radical elements are taken out of the system. And also, finally, the Netanyahu plan is rejecting any foreign interference of its affairs, saying that Israel cannot be forced to accept the establishment of the Palestinian state. And he says that such resolution will only be achieved by negotiations. However, also, like this plan, as you said, it has already drawn criticism from Israel's main ally, which is the U.S. We have the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who already spoken against this plan, saying that the Strip should not be resized, and also that another occupation of the Strip by Israel is out of question. However, for Israel, it seems that the criticism and concern of Blinken is just a background voice, for their goal is to curb the threat of terror. And so here is what the official document says on this subject.
The Israeli army will maintain operational freedom of action in the entire Gaza Strip, without a time limit, to prevent the renewal of terrorism and to thwart threats from Gaza. The security buffer zone established in the Gaza Strip in the area bordering Israel will exist as long as there is a security need for it. Restoration of the Strip will only be possible after the demilitarization is completed and the de-radicalization process begins. Israel will continue to oppose the unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state.
What's interesting also here that we have heard before about the demilitarization of Gaza and also the military presence in the enclave. But Netanyahu has held off discussion regarding this topic, especially the so-called day after the war, because he feels that that would lead to a split in the coalition, especially with some right-wing politicians who want to fully control Gaza. But also we have other cabinet ministers who understand that such talks and action would lead to the vision of Israel's remaining support in the West. But here we are. What I also feel very gripping in this plan that Netanyahu said that Gaza will be under local officials. But who are those local officials? Are they the Palestinian administration? Because it's definitely not going to be Hamas. But Netanyahu also didn't specify, so it still raises the question, who will govern Gaza? And also we have a statement from Netanyahu's office said that the whole plan was based on the principles broadly accepted by the public. But what about the massive protests that we have seen in Israel since the beginning of the war? And also people calling on Bibi to resign for elections and also for leaving the Gaza Strip. But also we have that Americans are far from being the only party who raises eyebrows at the revealed plan. We also have Hamas top official, Osama Hamdan, who told that this Netanyahu plan was so unrealistic and would never succeed.
Netanyahu presented a plan that included many of his repeated ideas. However, this plan will never become a reality or have any practical impact. First of all, he absolutely refuses to recognize a Palestinian state or entity. This prompts the question of whether he and others like him are qualified for political talks with the Palestinians. Secondly, he insists on separating the West Bank, Gaza and Jerusalem. This means that this entity's real plan is to seize Palestinian lands and fragment them, not to allow the Palestinians to decide their own fate.
What's also very interesting with the whole this plan, it also comes at the same time that news come out of the expansion of settlements in the West Bank, which also goes against the international law. And then we have the criticism by Washington was echoed by the UK's ambassador to Israel, Simone Walters, who tweeted that settlements are illegal under international law and also makes it harder still to progress any solution for this conflict. And also in the end, this whole plan, it comes amid intensifying calls to end the fighting in Gaza that had destroyed a large swath of Gaza, and also to revive the efforts to establish a Palestinian state alongside Israel.
All right, to France now, where the International Agricultural Fair held in Paris became a hot spot as protesting farmers clashed head-on with police. And before the renowned farm show had a chance to launch, fed-up farmers gained entry and started shouting, "Macron should go," along with the slogan, quote, "This is our home." It comes as the French president, a day before, cancelled scheduled talks with the farmers' union at the fair. And according to media reports, Emmanuel Macron was in the adjacent hall when the fighting broke out by chance. It comes amid massive farmer protests all across Europe, taking shape with tractors blocking highways and city streets and government buildings, getting manure quite literally dumped at their doorsteps. All right, shifting gears now to South America, where the policies of the president of Argentina are fueling anger across the country. And while the West is celebrating Javier Milei, locals are hitting the streets and locking horns with police. In Buenos Aires, thousands of protesters are clearly displaying their dissatisfaction with what they call the new divisive economic measures. The police attempted to block the demonstrators, who have demanded more social funding and protective measures for the homeless. Some governors have threatened to cut oil supplies if federal funding is withheld. A governor of one of Argentina's regions says that reduced allocation of public funding to the provinces is totally unacceptable.